Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of JKL Media Reviews, where we are talking about the show The Expanse. Today, we're talking about season three, episode, I'm sorry,
Eight.
eight,
Eight.
and it's called It Reaches Out. And I am here with, as you just heard, Lou. Hello,
Hello,
Lou.
everyone.
And Jesse. Hi, Jesse.
Hello, Karen. Hello, Lou.
Hey.
And I'm Karen, and we just went backwards.
Mm-hmm.
L LJK, KJL. So anyway, we're going to talk about this episode. It Reaches Out isn't a really great title, I think, for this one. It fits a couple of the storylines, and yeah. So I want to get first thoughts for you guys. I want to talk to you first, Lou. Give me your first thoughts.
Um, another transitional episode. We're getting some clarity on what's going on with the female character that's on the part of the UN fleet,
Mabel, right?
Mabel, and
Mhm.
we're also getting more Miller time. And I'm
Oh,
curious,
Melba, sorry.
Melba.
Melba, yeah.
Melba. I'm also getting more Miller time, so
hmm
I'm curious to hear what you guys think about what's going on with that.
Isn't that a commercial? It's Miller
It is.
time.
It's Miller
Yes, it
time. That's
is.
right.
Yeah.
And
When it's
I
time to
continue.
relax.
Yes, and I continue to love David Strathairn.
Me too. Okay. How about you, Jesse?
Yeah, I really love David Strathairn's character. I didn't I didn't love this episode, though I understand, you know, we're setting up, but I just wanted more than what I got on this one. It is, and I realize you can't rush stories and other things, but I kind of felt like, okay, with this was just a transition episode, and so it was kind of frustrating. Uh, you know, Often I want to hit the watch next because I can't wait to hear what happened. Uh, but this one was, I want to see what next because I don't feel like we got enough story this time.
Okay. I'll tell you right now,
Mhm.
my husband can confirm.
Yeah.
I have never yelled no louder than I did at the end of watching this episode. I said no because it stopped or it stopped.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of agree with you, Jesse. I think we got a lot of story though. There was a lot packed in and some stuff that it doesn't seem important, but I have a feeling it might be important. So I want to start with that. I want to start with what's happening on the Thomas Prince. It doesn't seem like a lot. We have Anna and a lot of the other like religious leaders um and we also have Melba there, but I want to talk about her later. Um, so I kind of want to I want to feel you out, Lou, and how important, how much should we be watching what's going on the Thomas Prince without giving away a lot?
Ooh, I can't really say anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. Partly because my memory's a little fuzzy on what's going on there, and I'm afraid if I say anything, it might inadvertently spoil something down the road. So, yeah, I just think that for now, you just have to view it as um, what this episode is doing is showing that there's a power shift in what's going on with the series. Like before, like we had the three parties, Earth, Mars, and the Belters, and the main conflict was between the Earth and Mars. This episode, I think, is intending to show you that there's a shift in the power balance between the parties. Well, I'll leave it
Okay.
at that.
Alrighty. What did you think about that little snippet of stuff we got from Anna and the other people.
There it This isn't what I watched The Expanse for. Though I think if I'd been in a different mood, I might have enjoyed the religious debate. The pompous pastor, talking about it with um, Anna having,
Religious fervor, right? Yeah.
yeah, and Anna having the little fun, snarky conversation with the other religious leader with the Bloody Marys and coffee.
Right.
Uh, and so I would have liked that character. And when one of the officers called it her God, right? And with this kind of disdain and the way
Yep.
she handled that.
What
It
has your
just,
God told us?
yeah. So it just was a really odd kind of conversation. Did think it was interesting, Anna picked up, and I don't know why, with the M
Melba.
character, Imelda, like, hey, are you okay? And so them running at each other was interesting. Um, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I mean, everyone's rushing to the ring to try to figure out what's going on. And we don't know what's happening. So it feels, we kind of uh yeah, I think your transition is a good word, Lou. And
Hmm.
I'm a little impatient to figure out, okay, what's the next big thing that we're going to go for? And, how much is this ring going to be involved? And uh I think I said earlier, right, that I didn't want this series to all be about chasing the proto-molecule, but it appears like it is. That is always going to be the MacGuffin that's driving the story. And I'm not sure how happy I am with that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, as long as the stories change a little bit,
Yeah.
I'm good with it. And I do think that it reminds me a lot of the movie Contact, where there's a lot of factions coming together to learn about something and they just
Good
keep
comparison.
Yeah.
prevaricating about
Yeah.
it, and and then
Yeah.
someone takes the initiative and goes. And we had the the belter that sacrificed himself to turn it on. Um, I I think that was a more pivotal moment
Mhm.
than I even expected it to be, because they even, they rewatched it several times on this episode with people, wondering what his motivation was. I think Anna, she was like, he was just trying to impress his girl.
Yeah.
There was no motivation behind it other than that. And uh, what you said, Jesse, about Anna, why she picked up on Melba, I have a feeling, I don't think it's supernatural, but I do think that her intuition is like heightened over other people's intuition. At least that's what we're supposed to think, because she felt that way about Aaron, right? When other people were fooled by him.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that was kind of setting us up for the fact that she cottoned on to what's going on with Melba. I do think it's a little reach, but I'm okay with it. I don't know what their interaction means. I also, I feel like, why would they insert a conversation about the evangelist if nothing's going to happen with him? And that's kind of what I was hinting at with Lou.
Hmm.
Um, are those people going to be important to the story? Uh, I think Anna is, at least temporarily. I don't know how permanent she is. Um, and I'm wondering about the evangelist, because they bring up, that he's charismatic, that people have donated money to him and that kind of thing. So, um, I'm keeping my eye again, they've taught us how to watch this show, and I'm keeping my eye on even little details that come up because they do come back to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So,
would say that scene was showing how people in power take advantage of situations to their own ends and means, which we're
okay.
seeing a lot of today in the real
Right.
world.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So he's taking advantage of this whole ring thing in order to build his quote unquote flock and
Yep.
get donations. Okay. All right. That's interesting.
It's all about
So,
me.
yeah,
Yeah.
Sound familiar?
God doesn't have anything to do with it, right?
Yeah.
If I can sell some Bibles and hold them upside down, I mean, what?
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. Yep.
so let's transition into Melba for this one. And Cohen, who's the cameraman on the Rossi. Um, they're working together apparently, is
Seem
what
to
I can
be.
see from it. Um,
Seem to be.
right. So I that caught me by surprise that they had a tie. Um, I don't know how involved that is, and now it makes me wonder if they're working with someone else. I couldn't pin that down. You know, I wouldn't say who or what or whatever. You know, how involved is Monica? Does she know what Cohen's doing? I don't think she does. Uh, when she walked away from Holden in the kitchen and she said, "We're going to win so many awards." Um, I think she's just in it for that kind of thing. I don't think she is subversive like Cohen. So I want to talk about Melba and Cohen, and you know that they set up this whole thing so that um, Holden would be blamed for this ship blowing up, the Sun Ung, um, and you know they cut off communication. They're really putting him in a bind where everybody has to point their missiles at him. Uh, and you know that's kind of their status quo, right? I mean, Holden even says it. You know, why? Why all these things keep happening to us? That's their whole thing is they turn a corner and it looks like, hey, maybe we'll get in on this whole ring thing, we'll work together, and now all of a sudden they're back in the shit. Um, so let's talk to you, Jesse. I mostly want to talk about Melba and Cohen. Um, what, did you have any clue that they might be working together? What did you think? He's so sneaky and gross. What did you think about all his machinations on the Rossi?
Yeah, I felt silly that I did not realize he was blind last episode. And watching it this time, like, oh yeah, it's very clear he's blind. Um, and still sleazy, still hitting on Amos.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
yeah,
love that scene where Amos goes, "You cannot."
yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, this is not gonna happen, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm is this a new faction? Is this someone, like we know there's the Belters, there's Mars, there's Earth, you know, and kind of the outer planets, but not so much. And so, you wonder who else is in this and why are we doing this? Who who gains by having another war, right?
Hmm.
So I am not sure. No, I did not see them working together. I did not see the connection. Um, I still am curious how she gets her quote unquote superpowers, right? They
Same.
make a point of her, like I have
Flashing.
yeah, I
Yeah.
always have subtitles on because I'm old and you see click makes a click,
Hmm.
or something on that. So she either I was thinking does she have some kind of you know endorphins or something that's in a false tooth or something. I just curious when she has to hide the body. I do have a little bit of a question on, okay, you come back to your ship, you don't have half your gear, you don't have your clothes, and the guy that went with you's not there, and they're just laughing it off. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of seems like there would be more like, what the hell?
Where is
You know?
he? Yeah.
Yeah. So I assume it was, uh, it must be a fairly big ship,
Yeah.
right? And so, but you would think she would have gone back to her clinic because her quarters or something and grabbed. I know she probably has very limited uniforms because he talked about you're not getting your deposit back if you don't
Right.
return your, bloody filled jacket. I also was like, how do you clean up without like some kind of cleaner or water just wiping it up? These are the things that sometimes distract me from watching a show. You're like, wait a
Same.
minute.
Takes
You're
you
like,
out of it.
yeah, just a little bit. She seems to be an interesting character. I like her a lot. I just don't know where she's coming from, and I'm curious to see what her motivation is.
Okay. Here's my problem with this. I can't really talk about it too much because I know who she is, and it pisses me off that I found that out. Um, so I'm kind of
Enough
going to
said.
skim over that. Yeah, but
I
I
take it
do.
accidentally, like
Yes.
was looked somewhere and
Yep.
yeah,
And it said AKA blah. And I was
yeah,
like, no,
yeah.
why? So I don't know her. I really don't know her motivation
Yeah.
yet. But I have inklings and theories and stuff. So I'm not going to talk about that. But
Holden's sister? I'm just
come
guessing.
on.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I'm just
Um,
saying everything else is about Holden, so,
that's true. Um,
That's a pretty good guess.
mm, yeah. Again, I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
Um, one of the things that struck me in this, and again, I'm one of those drama nerds, and I have done quite a bit of Shakespeare reading and that kind of sort of thing. And she's sitting there and she rubs at blood that's on her hand, and I thought that's Lady Macbeth. Come
Out,
on,
out, damn spot, out.
right?
Yeah.
And that was showing Lady Macbeth's guilt over something that she had done that has caused um, a lot of terrible
Pain,
things to happen.
pain.
I was thinking of Pilate having to keep washing his hands, right?
Mm,
That I
Yep.
wash my hands of this, everything. That I
right.
thought of that
Well,
a
that's
little
the
bit.
similar
Yes, it
thing.
is. Yeah.
Um, that's also kind of based on the Lady Macbeth kind of,
Hmm.
washing her hands of blood, essentially. I mean, that's where it all came from, right? But in this case, I do think that they put that in as a kind of subliminal thing to show that she has guilt, and she's cried a couple times over what has happened. So, um, I don't know what her machinations are yet, but I know that she is not technically evil at this point. That's just my guess on it. Okay,
Even
let's
though
talk.
she killed the guy?
Yeah, I think she feels like she had to.
Okay.
Uh, so let's go to you, Lou. Let's talk about Melba. What's your takeaways on this?
Yeah, she's obviously conflicted about what she's done. Um, Maybe to the point of where I think they overdid it a little bit. Like one crying scene is good enough. I think they did it like two or three times, and it was kind of like, okay, we got the point. I also agree with Jesse. Out of all the episodes that we've watched so far in this series, I think this has the biggest hand wavy section with her, stuffing the body in the locker or in the bulkhead and wiping it up with her jacket, and then nobody noticing that this guy hasn't come back. I think they were trying to intimate that he occasionally goes on benders or something like that, but
Yeah.
it's still kind of weak. I mean,
Yeah.
like you're you're going back to the you're going back from a supply ship to the main ship, and you're leaving that guy in the supply ship. Like that
Hmm.
doesn't like maybe that's normal, but they didn't establish that occasionally
Yeah.
people would stay on the ships that they're working on, and so we're just well looking at it from a from a different perspective, and it just seems rather odd because to us, when you're out in space, you want to get back to the safest environment that you can, and
Yeah.
um, like there's nothing to do on that ship
Right.
except to sleep off a bender, I guess. So I found that the very yeah that's been the biggest hand wave thing, and for a show that does a really good job of providing plausible context for actions, this was the weakest instance of it so far. Um, so Melba, uh, uh, I don't think there was any way to know that her and um, Cohen were in cahoots. I think that he you kind of got, I guess maybe you could say you got a bit of a vibe last episode when he was snooping around the ship, but this episode was more blatant, and I'm surprised that Amos actually hasn't glommed onto the fact that there's something up with this
Same.
guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, not the strongest plot-wise portion of the series to date for sure. So there's a lot of things about this that are a little bit frustrating. And then, the show does cliffhangers quite a bit, and I just don't think that this was one of their better ones. This
Oh,
Yeah.
man, I was so mad though.
Yeah,
I wanted to continue
yeah.
with the next
And
episode. So,
and I don't know why it's bugging me more this time watching it, but when the ship's moving in a certain direction, it's like the engine's on the wrong end of the ship for the direction that they're
mm-hmm.
moving in. I keep going,
Yep.
shouldn't they be going the other way?
Right.
Like, I don't know if that's just a stylistic choice or if that's actual science, but I don't believe it is. Like, if
Mm-mm.
your rocket's shooting, like, say from left to right, then you should be moving right to left, not
Right.
not not following your engine. So that was kind of bugging me too. I know, and
Yeah, that's confusing for
maybe that's
me.
proper science, but it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't know.
also um I also keep thinking this is on every space show, right? That
Hmm.
a body at rest stays at rest, the body in motion stays in motion. And
Mm-hmm.
so, would you need your rockets going all the time in in space? Like, wouldn't you just start and once you get that speed, you just would stay at that speed? Unless, I guess maybe they have to keep spinning to get gravity.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I just that's another thing that every once in a while hits me like, wait a minute, why would you need fuel?
Right.
Yes, but that's they do that in every
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, that's nothing new to the
Yeah,
Expanse,
and
right?
I think it's I think it's indicative of our reactions. Like we're kind of going into nitpicking mode in this episode
Yeah.
because the plausibility of what was happening this episode was not as strong as it's been in other ones.
Right.
Yeah, and I think yeah that like I watched this twice. I watched it last Sunday, right after
Hmm.
we finished. I went, "Oh, let me watch what's going on." And then I watched it again last night and going, "What did I do? I don't remember." Like I was like, "I need to watch this again because I'm not going to remember what happens to discuss." And
Mm-hmm.
that is not usually the case, right? That
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. And then I went, oh yeah, okay. Well, we did have a fair amount of stuff happening, just nothing it felt very important.
Yeah.
Right.
And once again, the reason I love this show is the characters,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I love the interactions and seeing all this. And it is kind of, oh, well, you know, damn, we and I'm still having to get over that we broke up the family. And though I do think um the the storyline in the Mormon ship, what's the name of it again?
Behemoth.
Yeah,
Behemoth. Yeah.
that is interesting. I
Yes.
think, that uh because the three dynamics of them, you know, Naomi and
Drummer and Ashford.
yeah, are I think that's a interesting, because like drummer's like he wanted this leadership, and Naomi's like, yeah, maybe, but I think he's got some thoughts, and so I like their interactions, and I would have liked more scenes with them.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to move on to, if that's okay with you guys. I'm going to
Yeah.
move on to their interactions. Ashford, Drummer, and Naomi, they're kind of a spectrum.
Hmm.
Uh, Ashford is on one end, very reactionary. Naomi is trying to um,
She's the idealist.
right, and trying to make sure that they listen to her. And then Drummer is caught between them, and I, I wonder how sustainable that is with Ashford, with Drummer and Ashford. I think there's a lot of trouble going on there where uh, Naomi agrees with him, but only because that's her opinion too. I don't
Hmm.
think she has a lot of respect for the dude. Um, Drummer, we know she doesn't have big respect for him. She is worried about him and what his agenda is. I also worry about what his agenda is. Is he there purely because he has the OPA point of view in mind, or does he have other purposes there?
Hmm.
Like, is he trying to start something? And this is just an opportunity for him, or whatever. I think poor Drummer in this episode is really caught between a person that she's supposed to listen to and sees his point of view, and a person that she really trusts. It's an interesting story, and uh, yeah, I agree. Strathern is just great in this role. So different from what I've seen him in before, and he is bringing it as far as I'm concerned. So, let's talk to you, Jesse. What is your wife upset with
No,
this,
she's
or
she's not watching.
okay?
Uh, yeah, he's just interesting, right? Like he's toasting, and his comments about, you know, you know, a religious temple becoming a warship, and um, if if he is jealous of drummer, he is at least hiding it. And I find his uh kind of candidness good. I am very much on the record as you want someone who pushes against you if you're in a position of leadership. You need to have someone that, will call you out. And I think he's doing that really well. I really have, I won't be surprised if he ends up betraying them, but I'll be a little disappointed. It's
Yeah.
he's been a fun character, and I've really
But
liked spending time.
I
Yeah.
got the feeling though that
Mhm.
that's where we're going.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like he's openly hostile while, and it's a phrase that is modern, like subtweeting, right? That
Hmm.
he's trying to undermine her a little bit. And I don't think he's jealous. I think he is just there to take control.
Yeah.
And he'll do what he can to do that. At least that's my thought
Hmm.
about him.
Yeah.
Okay, Lou, let's talk to you about Ashford and Simpson. No,
Yeah.
that's a band. Ashford, Drummer, and Naomi.
Yeah, well, like you said, I agree with your power dynamics in that drummer's in the middle between Ashford and Naomi. Ashford's a realist, cynical. Naomi's, I wouldn't say she's naive, but she's definitely an idealist.
Yes.
Yet they're all united in that they want the Belters to, this is their moment to change the balance of power and become an equal, or if not a ascendant power between the Earth and Mars and them. Um, it's he's just the Strathorn's just doing such a great job of inhabiting this character. I think he's like he really's gone to town on like the accent and the language, and like he just really feels like a belter. Even more than like drummer is pretty good too. And
Hmm.
she does that little hand signal with her where she crosses the finger kind of thing. I don't know if that's their version of
It's a
FU or
yeah, 100%.
but I like that. Um, and Ashford makes a point of saying that I represent Dawes and you represent Johnson, and uh, there's this what's going on with this Melba Cohen character. Is this a faction within either one of those parties? So there's a lot of belt building, I guess you could say, in this
Hmm.
episode.
Yeah.
And um, there's yeah, I don't want to say too much. The relationship between the three of these characters is going to be is great already, and I think it's going to be providing a lot of the entertainment for the next little while as well. And this, as I mentioned last episode, I think this is where Karen will really fall in love with Drummer,
Yeah.
because
I just love her
she
already.
just does some really
Yeah.
badass stuff, and
Awesome.
I really appreciate her. Um, she's got her feet grounded, um, and she can be very cynical, but she's not totally jaded, I guess is the
Right.
best way to put it. So she's an interesting blend of the two other characters, I think, and I think the dynamic between these three characters is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
I don't want to put too much on Holden, but I think that Holden changed Naomi a little bit, even though she was already disillusioned with the OPA. I
Yeah.
think he helped her become more idealistic. And then I feel like she is rubbing off on Drummer a little bit too.
Hmm.
And also I think Drummer knows more than Ashford does because she has met Holden. And I'm talking about when this broadcast came through. She's met Holden. She knows who the dude is. And so she's more hesitant, where Ashford has never met this guy.
Hmm.
He's okay with blowing him up, right? We have to, or else we're gonna be in the crapper. Um, and I I also one of the things that bugs me, here's the thing that bugs me. When there's two sides of this coin where um you stop the bomb at 1 second. Okay, so the other thing is, and I guess there's three sides. When you turn on the radio and the news report is on that you need to hear, you
Yeah.
don't have to wait 20 seconds to hear it or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and then this is when you go to fire and it doesn't work because something happens right then, right? Because she
Hmm.
says fire and all of a sudden the power goes out. Um, I assume that's not a contrivance because who would be sabotaging that? I don't know. And I'm glad you brought it up because now I can say something. I wondered if Ashford has anything to do with what's happening on the Rossi. That was my speculation if he's
Mm.
also part of that whole thing.
Mm.
Um, again, don't say anything. Um, because that it has so much to do with other things, which I hate. I hate so much.
Well,
Um,
see, part of my and I have loving this series. Don't get me
mhm,
wrong. So any criticism I have, I am nitpicking. But at this point, anything that happens, I go, it's the magic dust. It's the
mhm,
the proto matter.
right,
It explains everything. Why did
right,
the missiles throw? Because the proto matter stopped it.
right.
Where are we getting we're getting our detective back? It's because of the magic dust. It just why do we go to the ring? Because it's the magic dust. It is it is the magic salute the day as I can never say day ex machina, right?
Deo
And
ex machina.
yeah, and I just that's a little convenient. Isn't that convenient to throw
Yeah,
back
it kind
to
of
the
is.
church? Yeah. Thoughts,
Um,
Lou? Am I full of
yeah.
BS?
No, no,
Okay. Okay.
you're
I think that's it.
you're
And
legit. Yeah, I
I
what
don't
mean,
one
and
of
mind.
it is a small nitpick, but
yeah.
it gives you a very quick answer. It is the um Doctor Who's sonic screwdriver
Mm,
can do whatever the
he
script
needs.
calls for
Yep.
it to do.
Yep.
And that is a little bit 60s Batman. Whatever he needed was in his utility belt,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
It's I'm not calling it lazy writing at all because this show is definitely there is no lazy writing on this show. This is so well done.
Yeah, I will say we know it's based on books,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and the whole series is based around this big storyline.
Yeah.
And so of course the TV show that is based on it is going to be based around that same,
Yeah.
as you called it, a MacGuffin. It definitely is. But let me put it this way. Imagine that was happening now
Hmm.
in real life. We would be so focused on it that nothing else would matter.
Right.
And no matter how it evolved, we would stay with it to find out what was happening. And I feel like that's kind of what we need to keep in mind that, oh, okay, yeah, it's doing some stuff in order to fit the story, but also we would be focusing on it this whole time. That would be the thing that would be forefront, right? I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm making sense. Am I
Hmm.
making sense?
Yep.
Um, okay, so I saved the best for last. Let's talk about Holden. Uh, it- there's a bit of comedy in it, I think, in a weird way, where he's kind of doing that where he's shaking his head because he thinks
He's going
screws
mad.
loosed up there.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Um, I also appreciate that Alex and Amos are discussing what's happening. And Amos and Alex, man, when they're talking, and he's talking to himself. And Alex says, "Don't you talk things through?" And he says, "No."
Yeah.
And Alex said, "Okay, well, that's you. Most of us
Yeah.
do that."
Yeah.
That whole conversation I thought was great. It
Yeah.
definitely is in character with both of them.
Yeah.
Um, and
Well,
the
you
fact
talk to the
that,
ship.
right,
Yeah, exactly.
right, you talk to the ship all day. Um, you're gonna have that opinion.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a similar dynamic here with Holden, Alex, and Amos. Amos is the realist, Holden is the idealist, and we have Alex in the middle who can be convinced of anything, apparently. Um, he's very swayed by things, but he's also kind of, go with the flow, loosey goosey,
He's
that
he's
kind of
he's
thing.
he's he leans idealist though.
Sure,
Yes, he
of
does.
course.
Yeah.
I do think that, but he also has that Mars military
Yep.
in the back of his brain. So
Yep.
I do think that he is kind of, he could be on the fence about things where Amos and Holden aren't. They're
Yep.
never on the fence about anything. Um, I love that Amos looked at his records, um, and he says, "Yes, I looked at the records because, we're on the ship, stuck with him." And this is the thing that made me laugh the most in this episode is when Alex goes, "Why'd you do that? That's wrong." What did it say?
Yes, I thought that was hilarious too.
Yeah.
I
But
actually said it.
immediately,
I said it out loud just before he said it. I said, "Okay, well, what did it say?"
yeah, I I thought that was so great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The idea,
there,
no, that is such a betrayal of trust.
yeah,
And not,
but
and then he doesn't say, well, do you want to know what it is? Like, and
no.
he could have said, no, no, no. He's immediately, okay, since you've
So
done
tell me.
this,
Right.
yeah,
Now I don't need the guilt, but I can find out what's happening.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
That
and then
was
he
funny.
reveals that Holden, poor Holden he feels like he's going insane. And of course, if we put ourselves in that position, we would also feel like we're going insane, right?
Yes.
Um, and he wants to really make sure that he hasn't been infected by this protomolecule.
Yeah.
That is so important to him. And I I think maybe he went a little overboard, but he's seeing things, so he wants to make sure that what he's seeing on the screen is true as well. That's my thought, at least, that he's not being fooled by the protomolecule telling him that he doesn't have any. Um, Now, I did bring up at one point that we still had that remnant of protomolecule on the outside of the Rossi,
Yes, we
and
do.
I do think that is what's helping us to get Thomas Jane back on the ship. I love that he has his hat and that he spouts that same line when
To keep
Holden
off
asks,
the rain. Yeah.
what's with the hat?" Yeah, and we know that he left the hat behind on series, so Holden has never seen him with the hat. And that whole thing that was great. Um, so I was trying to figure out, and I could tell by how he was saying it that Miller was talking in metaphors. And I was thinking to myself, okay, I can't figure out what this metaphor is, but I think he's trying to tell Holden something, but he can't say it for some reason. And I think it's because the protomolecule isn't human, but it can communicate through something that has happened in that person's life. And we know that Holden had that thing happen on series where he told the kid not to rush in. And so it can prompt him to use that memory as a metaphor for what he's trying to tell Holden. Again, I'm saying a lot of things and I'm hoping I'm making sense. It,
So I like that thought, because I was very frustrated with, okay, just if you're going to have this, uh, whatever this is, this embodiment of the proto molecule, like make it work, right? I don't need this vague discussion. That's just very frustrating. But that makes me feel a little bit better, the idea, right, that it 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 doesn't have a context of humanity.
right.
And so by he's absorbed Julie and the Joe,
Miller.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Miller, that he can only use from things in trying to explain that.
Right.
That makes a lot more sense and kind of uh I I don't know if that's going to end up being true, but it's a really good theory that kind of explains why this is doing this
Right.
and makes me not as impatient. Like, okay, come on, get to it, get to it.
Just say it.
Yeah,
Yeah, because Miller never had any situation like this.
yeah,
But Miller is someone that Holden knows and has trusted in the past. So it's sending Miller and it's using something that Miller has actually gone through. He's never been there at a ring trying to tell a ship
yeah.
that they need to slow down. And that's at least my thought here. It reminded me of that episode of Next Generation,
I was just going to make the same
right?
explanation, right? That
Um,
where the guy talked in metaphors.
only metaphors,
Yeah,
yeah, because they didn't have any reference for communication otherwise.
yeah.
And so I'm guessing the protomolecule just doesn't have that. It absorbs things and it learns from those things, but it hasn't ever learned on its own how to communicate.
Mhm.
At least that's, again, I'm trying to glean information from it. Um, I loved his metaphor and I loved his rambling and adjusting the hat all the time. That was great. Um, he's he was one of my favorite characters, so it's cool to see him back again and being very Joe Millery, which I mean, he totally is, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think it's interesting also that he says that he's been killed over and over again because that's a thing that we know the protomolecule does. It can take things apart and put them back together because it's learned how to reassemble something from taking them apart and examining them. And I'm assuming that's what they're doing. They're building him from what they know. And
Hmm.
then when it doesn't work and he ends up going back to the protomolecule thing, um, they take him apart and they put him back together and they send him back out on the mission. At least that's my thought there too. I think the actor that plays Holden is doing such a great job in this episode of, showing us how crazy he feels. Um, and also his interactions with Monica. I don't like her. Um, I'm guessing we're not supposed to like her, but I don't think that she's involved in all this other stuff. So I want to continue with you, Jesse, about how did you feel about the acting in those scenes? What did you feel about his interactions with Monica? And, realizing what was going on because of the timestamp of what had happened with the ring awakening and him seeing Miller.
Yeah, I think that was pretty slick. I also don't think that the director of the documentary is any there for anything except to try to tell a story,
Okay.
right? Like she is after this, like she says, we're gonna win so many awards,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I think she is a filmmaker, and I do think, her discussion with Holden, like, look, the only way this works is if you share, all of you guys share. Um, I remember uh take a drink, a small drink, because it isn't a Bruce thing, it's a Jason Isbell drink. That HBO had a documentary on him, and it was showing early signs of him and his wife Amanda's marriage problems. And like 2 or 3 years later, they divorced. And Jason said, I think there's only two kinds of documentaries. The one that when you watch makes you uncomfortable, and the others suck.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I think she knows that to do this, they need to get in this. So yeah, once again, I don't think she is necessarily in this for any bad reasons at all. She's just trying to tell a good story for her investors. And you know, I kind of feel a little bit for her, like, look, you took the money, right? And once you took the money, you knew what this meant. This meant that we're going to hear telling you some crap, and you can't now take the money and then, go, oh no, I don't want to bear myself. So I feel for her a little bit. Yeah, I agree that, seeing this interactions, like I said, I realized they needed all of this to tell the story. And I did love Holden, like, look, I just need to be by myself. Look, Captain,
Hmm.
we're about, shit is going down.
Right.
What is this? Like, no, 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 trust me, and the idea of, and I do think it's interesting, like, okay, proto-molecule, why do you have to when I'm just by myself, right? It's
Right.
just so yeah, very interesting, and it was a nice cliffhanger on okay, what the hell's happening now?
Yeah. It was an evil cliffhanger. I'm
It,
sorry. It
yes,
was evil.
there you go.
Um, that's just me. Yeah, okay, so let's talk to you, Lou, about Monica and Amos and Alex and Holden, that storyline.
Yeah, I'm glad you caught the proto-molecule connection, because that's how Jane is appearing on the ship, because without that, it wouldn't be possible based on the rules that have been established in a couple of episodes prior, where we saw that with the proto-hybrid on, um, was it Ganymede or
Ganymede, yeah.
wherever that base was
Io.
with
It
Bobby,
was on Io.
with Bobby, where the hybrid was community, like, knew what was going on in Venus, and it knew what was going on, uh, on on the Rossi, I think, as well. So that's been previously established, and we're seeing here now that this small clump of matter in the Rossi, and he always, at least I was like, why is that there? And like, what's the purpose of it? Now we've gotten the purpose, that it's allowing Miller to manifest in front of Holden. Um, in this day and age, from a storytelling perspective, and I share Jesse's frustration, especially since we haven't seen Miller for a fair bit of time. So it's really frustrating when you get a character that, like, comes back like that, and we want to ask so many questions of him, and there's this communications barrier that's put up, and it just really kills the pacing of the story. And like Jesse, you understand why they did it, because they're trying to build this tension of, when the Rossi goes through the gate. But uh, as somebody who just wants to hang with this character, it's really frustrating that he's talking in these puzzles and that, um, in these circles, trying to explain to Holden how to approach the gate. And it's pretty cryptic, and I even think it, like, probably a lot of viewers probably still didn't understand what he was saying to Holden. And you're kind of going, like, how did Holden make that connection, that room's corner thing was meant to slow down to the gate? Because it's still, and I've seen this before. I still kind of go, like, how did he make that connection between that metaphor and what to do with the gate? It's not really clear to me. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys
It's a
feel
little
about it.
nebulous.
Yeah, so it's, yeah, so it's just frustrating, because I hate stories where they, um like, a conflict persists just because two characters won't talk to each other.
Yes.
Like, that kind of storytelling device is one of the weakest stereotypes or conventions that's come up through TVs and movies.
Yeah.
I
And
don't think you see it happen as much today, but in the 90s and the 80s, that was like a very
well,
common storytelling
yeah,
device.
it was a consistent and Hallmark, movies.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
Oh
they've
yeah.
talked about that they've kind of gone away from that now.
Yeah.
And when they do it, it's a little more uh okay, that's a little bit understanding, right? Like we could,
Hmm.
okay, I kind of get this. Or that's a realistic,
Yeah.
I could see that explanation, right? But no,
Yeah.
it is a very bad cliche.
Yeah.
Huge hand wave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's
again, I do think that there's that communication issue, and Holden picking up on it is one of those things that you just kind of have to, okay,
yeah.
he's smart. Um, yeah, so there's that. Um, I think that Cohen might be regretting his choices right now because of what he's having to
Well,
go
it's
through
interesting because
training.
he must have known what would happen. Like, he deliberately set that message to be transmitted. So that shows his depth of devotion to the mission that he was willing to go on a kamikaze mission, basically.
I think that he was just willing to have the Rossi blown up. I don't think he had any clue that they were going to have to go through the ring
No, oh
because
no,
that was
that's what I mean. Like
okay.
he was
Okay.
willing to die.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that he's more afraid of what's happening right now, of
what's
them
going to happen?
going,
Yeah,
well, you know what I
because
mean.
he's still alive.
Right. And in the
Excuse me.
unknown, as it were, um, he's a toady. He's a henchman. So they never want consequences for any of their actions. And, eh, if they get killed, they get killed. That's part of their mission. But if they have to do something afterwards, like go to jail or have any kind of consequences, that's where the breakdown occurs. Also, and this is something I'm assuming, but he's the cameraman. And so he took footage of Holden and manipulated it for that message.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
I would think that would be yeah, I think that's what happened, right?
Okay. Yeah, I assume so. Um, and when he put that chip in there, it made me think of Data from again, take a drink from Next Generation when he had to replace all those chips in the Naked Now.
Yeah.
Um, one of my favorite episodes of TNG, by the way. I'm fully functional. Um, so yeah, I think that's everything. Jesse, did I miss anything?
I can't think of anything. It was
Was it? Let me ask you guys, were you clear what happened at the end of the episode?
Okay, so they went through the
Okay.
the ring and they're frozen and the missile also went through and is frozen.
Okay.
Is that what happened?
That's what happened. But again, for me, and I've watched this, I was still like confused that did they actually go through the ring because they never really showed it, right?
Right. Yeah,
So
they
that
blacked
so
out and
so they
then
blacked out and then they wake up. But like, why didn't they have a shot of the Rossi going into the ring? I don't
right.
understand that.
Same.
That was weird.
Yeah. Yeah, because they showed the Mineo ship, right?
Yep.
Going through the ring.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, why didn't they do that? But I'm assuming that they went through the ring because why else would they be, just suspended there?
Hmm.
Um,
yeah.
what about you, Jesse?
Yeah, I am not I kind of like okay, once again we have a magic, something is happening. I'm not sure what it is. It appeared, right? They went in there and it kind of ended with this, oh, okay, everything stopped. So we don't really know what's the next step. So
Right.
we'll have to wait and see. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
I will probably be watching this today.
The
Which,
next one? Yeah,
yeah, which once again shows that's I know it sounds like I'm crapping on this episode. It's not. It's just it they have set a really high bar for great storytelling, and this feels once again they've started a new season, even though they haven't, and we're kind of getting up to speed on what's next for that.
right. I wanted to mention, I have this thing about the titles and it reaches out. That's very clear that they're referring to Miller, but they're also referring to Holden's message,
Hmm.
it reaching out. Um, and I don't know, maybe Anna reaching out to Melba.
Hmm.
I'm not sure, but it definitely has a lot of meaning in this
Yeah,
episode. So um I want to keep the Macbeth thing in my head, her guilt. I want
yeah,
to keep Cohen in my head. I want to think about what is happening when they go through the ring. So, anything you think you should keep in your head, Jesse?
no, not at this point. I think it's we'll see what happens and go from there.
Awesome. Okay, so let's do a rating. I'll start with you, Lou.
Yeah, watching this again, I think the flaws in it stand out a lot more to me. So it's a rare below 8 episode for me. I'm gonna give this a 7.5 Miller times.
Okay. How about you, Jesse?
Yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit lower, but just barely a 7 out of 10 shared cups of coffee.
Okay. Man, you're on the same wavelength as me, Jesse. But I'm gonna give it 7.5 new coffee makers. That's what I was
Nice.
gonna say. I have to go with that because of my love of coffee. I
Absolutely.
love coffee as much as Holden does. So, if you want to reach us, you can email us at jklmedia at jklmediareviews@gmail.com. Jesse, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at Jesse Jackson DFW on most social media. You can hear me talking House of the Dragon on Small Council Matters on the Tuning into Sci-Fi TV feed. I continue to talk music on Set Lusting Bruce. Had a little bit of controversy. I
Mm.
had a guest join me that called Bruce a greedy pig for this latest
Oh,
tour. And when shockingly, people took offense of him saying that and started posting some pretty unkind things, even though I had asked everyone to be kind. And he asked me to take it down,
oh,
mostly because he was tired of people uh not listening to the episode and just judging by the title.
right.
Which led to another great discussion of people like saying, no, you shouldn't have done that, Jesse. Yes, you should have. So it was a
Mm.
lot of fun. For these listeners, if you didn't get to hear that episode, send me an email, setlustingbruce@gmail.com, and I'll send it to you directly so you can hear it.
Okay, where can people find you, Lou?
You can find me on this YouTube channel, JKL Media Reviews, where we're doing obviously The Expanse, as well as we're waiting for the return of Pluribus and Severance. You can find me on my own YouTube channel, Lou's Reviews, where we have our archived episodes of the entire Babylon 5 series, plus the animated movie, as well. I have my Stephen King podcast and my writer interview podcast. And on Twitter and Blue Sky, you can find me at Lou W. Sitzma, Sytsma.
Awesome. I am at Eleveria on social media. My blog is alliestuff.com. And coming up on this channel, it's my time to pick. And weirdly enough, I picked a book. It's not like I read or anything. Um, we're going to be talking about the Divine Rivals series from Rebecca Ross. It's one of my very favorite latest romantasy. It's very definitely a fantasy series with a side of romance. Um, I love the whole concept of it, and I kind of wanted to see how much Jesse and Lou would like it. Jesse is partway through, which I like as well.
Yeah, it's been
Um,
good so far. I like it a lot.
so we'll talk about the first book first, and then after that, we'll have a second episode where we tackle the second book. So that's coming up. If you like romantasy, young adult, I don't know what to call it. It's so many different genres, but it's definitely fantasy. Again, I'm getting into other things. Anyway, so with that, I'm going to say goodbye to our listeners and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
And scene.
The proceeding has been a JKL Media production.